So first we'll begin by discussing our objectives, because by fulfilling our objectives we can reach our goal, which in this case is to be rich. I have prepared 3 different objectives just for this case. The first one is to get into a job that pays you well. Now, because a job is where we get our money from, and if you want to earn lots of it, you want a job that will pay you well. An example would be the difference between someone who is working as a teacher and someone who is working in finance. Most likely, working in finance would present a higher salary and consequently be more appealing for the person who has the eye for money. The second one is to save money. Now this is crucial to becoming rich, because if we spend more than we earn, then we obviously won't be left with a lot of money. It's all about budgeting our expenses and knowing when we should spend, when we can't spend, and when we don't need to spend. This will help us build our discipline and manage our finances accordingly. The last one is to stay ahead of the game. And by stay ahead of the game, I mean stay ahead of others and the competitors more specifically. By staying ahead, you gain an advantage that helps you distinguish yourself from others, and it helps you to be analytical to determine your future plans appropriately and efficiently. So now we have our plans and strategies. Our plans are essentially the actions that we will implement to fulfill our objectives. So in this case, our first objective is to get into a job that pays well. Now my plan to make this happen is to study hard, to have a high quality education, and to utilize school resources, because by doing so I will have the necessary qualifications and knowledge to prove that I am capable of working in the job of my choice. And utilizing our school resources will give us advantages that only students have through connections. Now, my strategy to make this plan work is to invest time in my education. Also, to broaden my social network. Because by investing time in my education, I can learn more effectively and show that I actually care about my future. And by broadening my social network, I can make friends and develop connections that may be beneficial to me in the future when looking for jobs. Another plan that I have to get into the job that pays well is to choose the right job. Now, this can be done by researching different jobs and their annual income salaries. By knowing what I want, I can find what I want and therefore choose the job that is most suitable to me. Researching the different jobs' income salaries will help me also to find a job that does pay well. One of the strategies also to choosing the right job is to do something that I like to do, because even if the job does pay well, but you hate it, you won't get very far. So choose something that you like to do and that pays well, it'll be perfect. As for our last plan for our first objective of getting into a job that pays well, our plan is to work your way up from the bottom. This is because it's easier to start at the bottom and slowly make your way up through promotions, for example, to lead you to a higher position and a larger income to give you more money. For example, if you have an employee who starts at the bottom of a company, and through the years he slowly makes his way up through promotions and has the opportunity to become assistant manager. Such a title would give more income, a higher income, and a far more superior job title. So, working your way up from the bottom will give you the benefits of a higher income later on. Our strategies for this plan is to prove that we are different from others and that we are distinguishable from others, and that so that we excel beyond them, and that we are more capable of doing what we have to do, and that we are more recognizable for promotion as opposed to the others. Another strategy is to be as active as you can as opposed to being passive, because being active shows leadership characteristics and that you can lead and you are involved with the work, as opposed to being passive and just watching. Being active and being a leader is a characteristic that's very appealing and is more suitable for a promotion. So now we move on to our second objective, which is to save money. Saving money is important because if you spend more than you earn, then you obviously won't have a lot of money left over. So the plan to save money would be to not spend everything that you earn, but rather keep some money aside and let it build up. Although the money that you put aside will not seem like a lot at first, over time it will slowly accumulate the amount that you save, and slowly become larger and larger until you have a dedicated savings that you won't touch, and it will always be there for you in case of emergency, but you would be one step richer than before. A strategy to this would be to make it a habit to take out a quarter or even half of your paycheck and put it aside, preferably somewhere where you are unable to just be tempted and to pull it back out and spend it. Another plan would be to create a budget for yourself and limit your expenses that are unnecessary. An example of this would be a daily cup of coffee. It's not necessary, but it is done out of habit, and if you feel like having some, you can just try to resist and save some money. Because even though 1 cup of coffee per day may not seem like a lot if you look at it on one day, but if you look at it in a span of a year, a coffee every day within a year would be a lot of money. It adds up. Similar to the concept of putting money aside and letting it build up, if you spend a little bit each day, that also builds up. And the larger the number, the more that you spend and the less richer that you are. So, a strategy for this plan would be to avoid buying things out of pure impulse, because sometimes we just feel like spending something even though it's really unnecessary, and this in turn hurts us in the long run. Also, considering what you need and what you don't need helps us create a form of discipline and helps us decide what we actually really need and what we don't need, so that we may decide on our purchases more carefully and in the end save more money. Now onto our final objective to help us achieve the goal of becoming rich. Our final objective is to stay ahead of the game, and by staying ahead of the game, I mean being ahead of the competition and being ahead of others in general. You want to keep yourself up to date with what's going on around you so that you may make proper decisions based on the environment that will be efficient and beneficial to you in the future. A plan to do this would be to keep updated with world news and business news to be knowledgeable of the economic environment. Such knowledge will be able to help you make decisions that are properly associated with what you want to have as a proper result in the future. A strategy to do this would be to read newspapers or to even watch television. These are all very helpful ways of staying connected with the media and being connected with the world around you. Another plan would be to observe the trends to know what is and what isn't popular. Knowing this would give you an advantage to know what would be beneficial to have and to not have, or what would be pleasing to others and what would be displeasing, so you know what is good and what is bad essentially. This would be done by watching commercials, reading forums, or anything that pretty much gives feedback from the general population. All of this knowledge helps you stay ahead of the game and also distinguishes you from the rest of your competitors to make you stay strong and stay ahead, making sure that you can be rich, and if you are rich, you can stay rich, because becoming rich is one thing, but staying rich is also another thing. It's hard to stay rich because of the ever-changing economy.